I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Brian, any changes to the agenda tonight?
There are no changes this evening.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any public comment on any item not on the agenda tonight?
No, Mr. President.
Okay. None online, none in the field. Okay. Director update. Kim. Hey, there's Joe.
Oh, sorry,
Hey.
guys. That was the fastest half hour I ever missed.
All right, we're right in director update.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
am I up on me for?
No, not yet. We're gonna start with Kim over there. Yeah.
Yes, with my monthly gratitude towards our staff here in management. I just, I know it's been a short time between, or since the last meeting, but I always like to take this opportunity to thank all of our employees for all the hard work that they have and keeping the lights on, the water flowing, and the customers happy. So, thank you. That's it.
All right, thanks. Tony?
Yeah, feel like we were just here like 2 days ago. Yeah, no, thank you, staff. Luckily, we've had a little break in the weather to catch up, and so appreciate everyone's hard work. Thank you.
Right. Krista, any director update?
I do have a quick, even though it has been a shorter period of time, I did attend a couple of meetings in the past week that are PUD tangential. This morning, the CCC Champion Convene and Catalyze meeting with local area, Nevada County, Placer County, Town of Truckee, Fire, et cetera. Everybody gets together once a month and sort of, is it once a month? Might be once a quarter. Discuss what's going on in the community and what the big problems are. And this morning, probably no surprise at all, the big topic was traffic and how impactful that is on our community, and that certainly includes our operations. It's really hard to turn on somebody's electricity in a timely fashion when there's 2 hours of traffic just to get from one side of truck to the other. So anyway, rest assured, a lot of really concerned, smart people are thinking about these things and, hopefully we'll manage to start solving some of these problems. I also attended the camp meeting, the first one of the year, which is the Sierra Climate Adaptation and Mitigation Partnership. I attended that as a representative of the CTA, the Climate Transformation Alliance. So these are all very similar collaborative partnerships where we're all thinking about the same challenges, trying to align our solutions and line up funding and identify projects, et cetera. So those were two, just update. They have been attended. We have been accounted for. And one final just bit of information that I learned this week that files under the "Don't let this keep you awake at night." As you all know, that we're in the middle of a pretty large energy transformation, so how we get our energy and how we're moving it around the world. And one of the things I hear come up a lot in conversation is we're going to have to be mining all of these new things to make this happen. Lithium, for example, is the really common one. And I just got some information from it was a Sustainability Coalition and the International Energy Commission, and it's, at this moment, we need about 7 million tons of these new minerals to achieve our the current things currently in the pipeline. And that's obviously not including what we need to do to get where we want to be. So to get to that stage, they're saying about 4 times that, so 28 million tons of mining to be done annually, which is a lot and gives everybody a moment of, oh my. But comparing that to the 15 billion tons of coal, oil, and natural gas that we mine every single year, that is on an annual basis, just to run what we already have. And that is stuff that we're putting into our cars and we're burning it and we never use it again, right? Whereas the things that we're doing for the renewable energy transformation, that's kind of more of, it's not a one-time investment, but it's more like a capital improvement, right? So you put all this in at the beginning and then you don't have to, keep reusing it and reusing it. It's in the blades and the blades are spinning. It's in the solar panels and the solar panels are being recycled and the batteries, et cetera. So when people come up and say, how are we ever going to find the resources to make this revolution happen? We have them. We have them, and it's far less intensive than what we're doing already. So just want a little truth sandwich to start off our evening on the renewable energy transformation front. So thank you for your patience, and that's it for me.
Thank you.
How can I follow all that?
Yeah.
I don't know. How you doing, Joe? You're here. Any updates from you?
I don't have any updates. I think I even missed the last meeting, but I knew I was gonna make this one. And I thought I'd be here a half hour early. I told Sean I'll see you around 5:30. And all of a sudden, it was gone, this last half, like I said. But I knew that the PUD was still percolating. And that I got a brand new heater yesterday, and it turns on real good, and it's burning good, so I know it's getting electricity. And so, like Kim said, the lights are burning, and there's money in the bank so far to pay the bills, and so, and the water's flowing. Thank you, guys. That's it.
All right. Thanks, Joe. All right. I just want to take a moment here of silence, just in remembrance of Tom Hobday, and what an incredible person, and what a wonderful write-up, Pam. So if we could just take a moment, that would be great. All right, thank you, everyone. And that takes us to General Manager update. Brian, do we have any updates tonight?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to start with, we had, over the last couple of meetings, some great discussions. The last workshop, or the last workshop that was presented on the 18th regarding the community-wide broadband. I really wanted to thank the GM task force members, the community that showed up and participated and contributed, our presenters, the Uptown consultants and staff for putting together the initial scoping study and those results. The board's feedback to staff and the interaction there was critically important to providing guidance to the next steps. Staff is currently evaluating with Uptown on the best means of achieving the board's direction and ask out of that last workshop. And we'll continue to look for community engagement and participation with those key partnerships. Also wanted to give the board a little bit of update on kind of year-end statistics for the electric side of the house. Director Finn just mentioned some of the data out there in terms of the energy market and some of the challenges out there. And the district isn't kind of unaffected or immune to some of the market challenges that are out there as well. And so I wanted to give a little bit of an update. In December, the district experienced an increase in energy costs that we hadn't seen yet this year or in previous years. And so for December, calendar year 22 December, we saw just under 19,000 kilowatt hours, a 12% increase compared to last year in December. But we also saw that coupled with an increase in cost. And so when we talk about the total December purchase power cost, for 2022, we saw just under $2.3 million for the month. To give you some perspective there or reference, for last December in 21, the monthly electric bill or energy cost was just over $1 million. So for the month of December, it doubled this year, and there's a lot of contributing factors here. Most of which are that we were, as a district, talked about this over the previous 6 months, we were exposed to the open market. And the reason for that is, one, there were some delays in the Red Mesa Solar project coming online, which we expect over the next couple of weeks, a month or so, for them to start their testing going online for production, and then bringing the district in there in the month after that. We also saw our Nebo gas generation plant under maintenance in November and December. And then we saw extreme pressures nationally and globally on natural gas prices. And so apropos to the discussion that Director Finn just had about the challenges with natural gas, we're also challenged with it on the market end of the perspective. So our scheduled natural gas generations were offline for November and December for maintenance. And so while we were exposed to market for that and with Red Mesa, we felt that burden for the December billing there. We do have rate stabilization reserves that we will go to. The board establishes those budgets for us to ensure, market anomalies like this don't have a immediate, direct impact to our ratepayers' monthly bills. But just also wanted to let the board know this is something we need to, make sure we have provisions for and mitigation measures for in the future. No one can predict spikes in energy costs. There's a lot of other contributing factors. The war in Ukraine that everyone talked about with the natural gas prices globally, the exports in the United States, and then some of the cold weather, both the East Coast and West Coast at the same time, really put the demand on some of our energy resources and put the market prices up. Our goal is to make sure that we have these kind of hedged through scheduled and contracted purchases, but when some unforeseen things like a plant going down or delayed in construction or intermittent resources aren't producing, the district gets exposed. We are not alone in this, and so all of our public power partners are experiencing very similar challenges. We've seen public energy providers such as Roseville, Lassen, Reading, all of our Northern California public energy partners, taking other, making other provisions also. Some have put surcharges to their bills to account for the increase in energy costs, or are addressing it through other means. We have that reserve rate stabilization fund that we can access in times like this. As we start to go through our cost of service analysis and rate study for the new energy rates for our district customers in '24 and beyond, one of the things the board has in their purview here, and we'll put some, our consultant doing the cost of service study and the rate analysis will evaluate some other measures beyond rate reserves on how we help balance those spikes in energy costs in the future. One of the good news is we continue to build contracted energy purchases for the future. The Red Mesa, being one of them. When it comes online, will really help us in terms of our total clean energy market portfolio, but working with our UAMPS partners on making sure we have, stable and reliable contracted energy resources in the future. As we've mentioned in the past, we're exploring things like the geothermal and other opportunities in small hydro. Again, there's a little bit of, there's a scurry of activity of everyone trying to access those resources at the same time to offset some of the impacts that we're experiencing now. So wanted to give an update. Joe Horvath, our utility director, will have an energy review for the 2022 calendar year coming up in kind of the beginning of the second quarter. April is usually when he does his annual review on the previous year's energy purchases and what that landscape looks like for the next coming year. But you're going to see this topic come up a lot as we explore new energy rates for '24 and beyond, and what our in our cost of service analysis with our consultant here this spring. And that's all I have.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right. All right, we have a few items on the consent calendar, items number 8, 9, 10, and 11, 4 items tonight. Shauna, is there any public comment on the consent?
No, Mr. President.
Any public comment out here on the consent calendar? Nope. Any directors have any questions on the consent?
Seems like it's pretty routine.
Yeah, is there a motion?
Calendar.
I'll move approval of consent calendar.
I'll second the motion.
Motion and a second. Shauna, roll call, please.
Thank you. Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Finn?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Vice President Liliotis?
Yes.
President Bender?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we have one action item tonight, award the district pipeline replacement 2023 Contract A construction contract. Neil Kaufman.
Good evening, directors. Can you hear me? There we go. Is that better? Okay. So this is action item number 12, award of the district pipeline replacement 2023 Contract A, construction contract. As the board is aware, the water department has an ongoing need to replace existing water pipelines. These typically fall into two categories. First is pipes that are in poor condition and require repeated repairs. The second category is pipes that are old, undersized, and have exceeded their useful life. The District Pipeline Replacement 2023 Contract A project entails about 4,600 feet of water main in the Glenshire area. The 4 streets involved are Canterbury Lane, Courtenay Lane, Oxford Circle, and Wellington Way. Also in the project is the replacement of a pressure reducing station on Rainbow Drive in the Prosser Lakeview area. The bid opening was held on January 17th of this year, 8 bids were received. They're summarized here in the table. As you can see, Hanson Brothers from Grass Valley was the low bidder at just over 1.9 million, and we ranged on up to a high of 3 million at the upper end. Now, we do have a few as related contracts, which is typical with our pipeline replacement projects. We have construction inspection with CME, some environmental services with Inland Ecosystems, and geotechnical testing with NV5, and these were previously approved through the annual procurements. And at this point, I'd just like to briefly run through some other projects that are upcoming for this summer. We have the Pioneer Trail Pipeline, which was awarded last year and got started. We are anticipating completion in the fall of 2023. This is the project that will impact the recreation trail from downtown Truckee up to Northwoods into Tahoe Donner. Our goal with that is to have the portion of the trail that will be impacted, we hope to have that back reopened to the public by July 4th weekend. That is going to be a little weather dependent, but right now that is our goal. In conjunction with that, we do have the Pioneer Trail Pump Station, which was also awarded and began last year. That's going to run a couple of months behind. We're looking at right now a December 2023 completion for that project. For new projects, we are going to have a pipeline replacement contract B. That's about 4,900 feet of pipeline on Ski Slope Way in Tahoe Donner. We are currently advertising for bids for that project, and we do anticipate bringing a recommendation to the board at the March 1 board meeting. We have the Hirschdale Pipeline, which is going to connect the Hirschdale water system to the main TDPUD water system at the east end of Glenshire. The CEQA initial study for that project is currently underway, and we expect to make that public here within the next couple of weeks. We're anticipating a bid period of April and May. This project is not going to be all that involved, and we are hoping to get it completed this year. We have the second water storage tank at the 6170 tank site. The CEQA for this second tank was already addressed when the initial project CEQA was done back in 2002. We did identify that we were going to construct a second tank at this location, and we did a number of steps to accommodate this tank, including all of the earthwork, and there was also valves that were put in as tie-in points for the second tank. The bid documents are currently under preparation, and we anticipate beginning the bidding period within the next week or two, and we're anticipating a recommendation to the board at the March 15th meeting. And finally, we have the Ski Run Tank rehabilitation project. This is CEQA exempt as a maintenance project, and this is running on essentially the same schedule as the 6170 tank, with bidding to begin within the next week or two, and a recommendation for award at the March 15th board meeting. In terms of fiscal impact, pipeline replacement projects are a core component of our 10-year Water Department capital improvement program. The fiscal year 23 budget includes $14.8 million in capital projects for the Water Department. And just to recap, our bid price from Hanson Brothers on this contract day was just over $1.9 million. We are recommending a 10% change order allowance on this project for a total authorization of $2.1 million. And as noted above, we do have sufficient funds for the project. So the recommendation before you is to award the District Pipeline Replacement 2023 Contract A to Hanson Brothers in an amount of $1,910,855.78, plus a 10% change order allowance of $189,144.22 for a total authorization not to exceed $2.1 million.
Thank you, Neil. Any public comment on pipeline replacement project?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, anyone out in the audience? Nope. Okay. Any comments?
No,
Here we go.
Kim will start off
Lot of
again.
money. That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. What is nice, though, is that we do have quite a few companies that are willing to step up to bid it. And it's quite the variety of bid amounts. That's, over $1 million from the top one to the bottom one. Hopefully, this is a little more indicative that we'll get more people bidding these and will hopefully start to bring costs down a little bit. So a little bit more of a competition. But thank you very much. No more questions.
Any thoughts, Tony?
No, I echo what Kim said. A lot of good and a little bit of bad on this bidding list, but appreciate Hanson Brothers sharpening their pencil a little bit. And I do appreciate Neil, your update on all the projects. So apparently we were able to clone you because there's so much work up there.
Well,
I don't know how you're going to do it all, but
we're reviewing that. Some of the projects are being designed with outside consultants, so it's not quite.
just the CM part of it is.
Yeah, the CM part of it, we are reviewing how we're going to handle the construction period on this. It is going to be challenging.
Yeah, I can recognize that. So, no, thank you for a great report and look forward to getting some pipe in the ground.
Joe,
Yeah,
any thoughts on?
yeah, you got any money?
Yep, we
You got
do.
money.
Mike Selman took care of that for us with the rest of the team.
Apparently, we're not having any trouble spending it.
Right.
In Glenshire?
I'm sorry?
This is in Glenshire, this project?
Yes. So the great majority of the project is in Glenshire, Oxford Circle, Wellington Way, Courtenay Lane, and Canterbury Lane, yes. And then there's a small portion down in Prosser Lakeview.
Did I see something about a Hurstdale project too?
Yes, we are working on a water pipeline that will connect.
The one we're gonna start for this month, February 1st. For the bidding?
The bidding period for that project is probably going to be in the April-May neighborhood. The board previously awarded a contract back in the fall to perform the CEQA review for this project. This is a new pipeline. So most of our projects, pipeline replacement, is exempt. There's a CEQA exemption that applies to replacement of existing facilities. For the pipeline that will connect the main PUD system down to Hurstdale, this is a new project, a new pipeline, so there is no CEQA exemption. So the board awarded a contract back in the fall to prepare the CEQA initial study. That is almost complete, and we will begin public circulation of the initial study here within the next week or two. Once we complete the CEQA process, then we can move into the bidding process.
Thank you, Neil.
All right, thanks, Joe. Krista, any thoughts?
Pretty much along the same lines. Although, can you remind me where tank 6170 is?
Yes, so that's north of the interstate and kind of west of the concrete plant.
Okay,
So there's a couple of places from downtown that you can kind of see it. It's kind of up above
Kinda
on a
hidden there off the
hillside,
yeah,
hidden in the
trail.
trees.
yeah, actually, I know exactly where it is. I do use that Pioneer Trail a lot, so thank you for the refresher. I just want to say I'm really happy to see all of these projects. I understand it's a very challenging timeline that you have set and that we've all set for, but it's really adding to our reliability, our resilience, we're plugging leaks, we're adding storage. These are all things that are going to help this community continue to enjoy, water. It's an important thing. So thank you. I think I don't have any more questions at all. It's exciting.
Yeah, a lot of projects. So I want to reiterate just, thanks for the updates on all the projects. It's really nice to see how this year's going to play out. And then, so thank you for that. And then also keep us posted on the construction management, how you're going to tackle that. And if we want to make sure you're not, or unless you cloned yourself, Neil, like Tony was saying. So just in the future, as you bring this back, please include the updates on the other projects, how those are going. Really appreciate that. And then if you have any additional thoughts on construction management, making sure that we can handle this, because the board cares. We want you to be able to tackle it all. So thank you.
I'll move staff's recommendation.
I'll second that.
Okay, Shauna, could we have roll call, please?
Absolutely. Director Aguirre?
What did you
We got a motion and a second, and then Shauna's wondering if you're going to vote yes or no.
We're voting on it, yes.
All right.
Thank you, Director Finn.
I second it.
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Vice President Laliotis?
Yes.
President Bender?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. All right, we have a workshop item, 2023 Public Information Department Plan and Communication Strategy. We got Stephen.
Right. Just really quick,
We're going to take a break at 6:55.
I need to step out at 6:55.
Right.
About 10 minutes. So,
All right, we got a little bit of time, so.
No, I know.
Yeah, I got you covered, Tony.
just want to make sure that you're
Yeah.
not thinking I'm disinterested in this workshop.
Yeah.
Good evening, President Bender and members of the board. This is workshop item 13. Going to introduce some new technology here as we go into an embedded presentation, and it's great to follow up the item we just had. It's your money at work, which might be something that shows up later in the presentation, but it really is great investments for our customers. So we are here to discuss the plan. I'm going to give an introduction a little bit on the plan itself and the overall effort. I have my communications partner, Alex Spihalski, here, who will be tag teaming this presentation and really going into some of the details. And as you'll see, we started from kind of where we were in 2020, and we've done some good works. We've gotten positive feedback, but communication keeps popping up internally, externally, in our customer surveys. And the district made the investment to improve our communications, and I think you're going to start to see that coming to fruition. So let's start with the Public Information Department plan. I'm going to talk about what is the plan, visions and goals that we created for the department and for the plan, the audience and media landscape in which we operate, and then the channels that we use to communicate to that audience. So what is the plan? The plan goes into great detail on our channels, our audiences, our themes, our messages, our campaigns, and it gives structure around how we allocate resources, where we're putting our efforts, what channels we're activating, how we're measuring those results. It's a living document, always. And so you'll kind of see where we are today and what we think the major themes and campaigns are. But of course, that's never an inclusive list, and things change, and we react to what's happening. But it gives us structure to really manage our time, our resources, prioritize our messaging to make sure we're really being the most effective that we can. So putting this down on paper ensures everyone is aligned on what we should be working on. So vision and goals, in the plan, it starts with the district's mission and our values and the strategic plan and the key documents and governance that drives us. We did start the plan with 2020 as a start, so we were a little dated on the mission there, and I think one of our values was out of order, so thank you for the feedback, and we're going to correct that stuff. But it starts from there, but then we broke it down to really what's the Public Information Department's vision. We put it up there for you, but it really speaks to what we want to do, why we want to do it, and how we should go about doing it. We also created communication goals so that we can really prioritize what are the most important things. And again, we're going to manage and create metrics and see how we're doing. In its simplest form, this is why we need communication. It all comes back to engaging the community in our operations. So audience and media, our audiences are diverse. The ratepayers, of course, are incredibly important, and that's why we exist. Board and staff, internal and external communications, very important. We've talked about community and communities that we serve, and so how do we identify them and communicate to them? So we took the time to really identify those audiences and then really try to figure out which messages are important to them, which channels should we use that are appropriate for them that they want us to communicate with. The landscape is changing, demographically, politically, economically, and we know the communication has changed dramatically in digital, social, face-to-face, and websites and traditional channels and media are still super important, but so is all the new stuff. How do you leverage them all? Where do you put your resources? And so we're really, we spent some time in the plan documenting and talking about what we see as the landscape today and what are the forces that are causing things to change. And then channels, is ultimately how we get the message out. Traditional media, social media, websites, signage, presentations, and then, of course, face-to-face and relationships is kind of always fundamental to all of this. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Alex to take it from here.
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening. I'm Alex Bihalski. I'm the communications specialist here, and I'm going to take over now and take you through kind of what the process has been over the last 6 months to get to where we are now in this communications plan and strategy. So as Stephen had mentioned, where we started with this was really the themes, the communications themes that existed. Those were developed in 2020, and this is where we started over the summer. Stephen pulled these out and said, let's take a look at what we have and let's see how we can retool this for our current needs. And you'll see, just to familiarize yourself, these were the themes in 2020. And you'll see that it covers a lot of really important work that the district does. For a little bit of background, when we started this, I was about 1 month on the job, and I do not come from a utility background or a public sector background. So I looked at this list and some of these words, and I was very confused. And I needed to do a lot of homework myself just to get to a place where I felt like I had a good understanding and can manipulate these things. So we kind of workshopped these. We went to the executive team, then we went to the leadership team. We workshopped these. But in going through these, the fact that the amount of learning and homework that I had to do as with that outsider perspective kind of was the first clue to me that maybe we need to break this down a little bit better for our average customer to be able to understand. I have the benefit of being able to sit down one-on-one with Stephen, with Joe Horvath, with Chad Reed, and our community doesn't have that benefit. So how do we get them to understand what we do for them, how we serve them, in a way that makes sense to them? So following that first kind of round with our executive team and our leadership team, we thought about, why don't we take this to the rest of our staff here? Let's put out a call for volunteers who are interested in this topic, and let's make an interdepartmental working group and get a lot of opinions across our different departments here, across different maybe levels of understanding of some of these topics, and let's see how we can make the best plan moving forward. So from those conversations with that working group, the first thing that came out was that let's refocus this from the point of view of our customers, right? As far as our public communications go, that's who our audience is. It's the public, it's businesses, it's customers, it's, our local agencies. So let's think about this from a point of view of, what do they need to know about us to, live their best life? So we chose to consider the themes from, like I said, the customer's point of view. Customers at the very start, what do they care most about when it comes to us? Money and reliability, I think we can agree. They want to know, is my power on? Is my water running? And do I feel like I pay a fair amount for these services? So really at a base level, we need to be answering that question for them and make them feel comfortable that we are accomplishing that for them before we can get them to care about the other things that we do want them to care about and all the other great work and services that we bring them in their day-to-day life. And other than the customer focus, we also wanted to refocus the purpose of these themes. So some of the feedback from the working group, like we said, was those prior themes, maybe we need to focus more on the day-to-day needs of our customers versus the big lofty goals that we have. That's very important stuff, but let's make sure we're meeting people where they are to get them into listening to us before we talk about all the other great things that we do. Focusing on what sets us apart from other utilities. Keeping it basic. This is a very technical, jargon-heavy industry. A lot of acronyms, a lot of really intricate things to have to understand. So how can we break that down for our customers or for our various audiences in a way that they can understand? So from there, once we got to that working group, we really decided to completely start fresh, kind of throw out what we had, and let's take a look and create a high-level planning tool, something that's a little bit broader than what we saw before, that speaks to everything that the district does for our community and really creates a foundation for people to understand who we are that we can then further build upon with our campaigns, which I'll get to what that means after this. So these are the new PUD themes. We provide essential, reliable services. We help you save money. We keep our communities safe. We promote sustainability. We're built for the mountain lifestyle. We invest in our infrastructure. We plan for the future. And we are the TDPUD. So obviously this looks a lot different from what we saw on that first slide. And the purpose of that is this is really kind of the elevator pitch of what the PUD is. It's pretty broad. Some might say even vague, but that's for a reason. Everything that we're going to talk about is going to touch back to one of these, right? It's not specific, kind of that first list read a little bit more like a punch list. These are things that we do. Let's tick off talking about everything that we accomplish. And there's a place for that, but first let's really establish who we are and what we do for the communities that we serve. And since this looks so different, at the bottom here you'll see, all right, well, how does this fit into our overall plan now? We start with these themes. From there, we can determine some campaign topics, which are a little bit more specific, and what we feel are our top priorities for the year, talking in communicating with the community. Then we'll build the strategies on how best to communicate those, and then decide on what content to use to communicate those. So once we got through the themes, then we moved on to determining what our campaigns will be for this year. And what does that mean? This is where we get more specific, right? So this is a specific marketing plan built around a high priority topic that we want to communicate to the public. it's more actionable versus those really open-ended themes that you just saw. So campaigns should really reflect a high priority of the district. As we said, we want to be relating everything back to the customer, so they need to be relevant topics to our community. We want them to have a clear takeaway or goal. We want to be repetitive but not redundant. And what that means is that, as I said, some of these topics are, pretty complex. Sometimes you have to build our customers' education and understanding on them. And also, when we share something once, we might not catch everybody with it. So we need to be sharing this, our messages over and over again, but we need to be able to do it in a way where we're changing it up that people don't feel like they don't check out because they're like, oh, I already saw this once before. I don't need to see this again. So finding different ways to push the same message and keep people's attention. And as I said, something we can build upon, right? We're not going to go straight to the top trying to explain very complex energy or water topics. We need to get everybody there, build their understanding of what we do from the basics. And then once they have that knowledge, they can understand a little bit further. And then our, kind of a little marketing 101 here is those takeaways that you want from these campaigns will usually fall under 3 buckets. Awareness is very simple. The PUD is a public power and water district. That's, we have a locally elected board, right? Awareness of a topic that we want them to know about. Education is a little bit deeper than that. We want them to take away some new information. And then a call to action, that's when we actually want them to go do something with we're pushing them to go do something. We want them to go sign up for Smart Hub, manage their account online. We want them to be signing up for those outage text alerts. That's the highest burden of a campaign. That's, the hardest to get to, right? And these campaigns, this list of campaigns is not an exhaustive list of everything we're going to communicate this year. There are just a few places where we feel that there's a topic that we can spend the year or a set amount of time talking about, building upon. There's a lot of topics that fall underneath this campaign. So it's not the end all be all of everything you're going to see us communicating publicly this year, but it's a good place to start. So the 2023 campaigns we have listed here are the PUD First Timers Guide, Your Money at Work, Living the Mountain Lifestyle, Electrification and Rebates, Wildfire Season, Responsible Water Usage, Energy Sources and Clean Energy, Working for the TDPUD, and What Goes into Your Rates. So you can see those themes were very broad, not very, you couldn't really build a focus out of it, right? This is a little bit more focused. You can say, oh, okay, I could see where drought regulations might fit into one of these campaigns. I could see where, different energy sources and what we're talking about, Red Mesa Solar, I could see where that could fit into one of these campaigns. And the drawing over to the right, this is actually from one of the members of the working group that we had. Pano, who works in IT, drew this, and we had discussed in that session kind of about what I've been talking about, meeting the customer where they're at, right? If customer was to walk outside of their house and look around, where are the places that we touch their lives, and explaining that, what the PUD does for them in their world. And afterwards, he kind of doodled this out, and I thought it was just a cool, creative illustration of what we were doing in that group and how we really wrapped our mind around how we want to communicate with the community. So once we determine that list of campaigns, now we have to build out what we're actually going to do to communicate it, right? So when we're building a campaign, a few things to consider. We want to figure out what topics fit underneath that bucket, determining the appropriate channels to use, and that usually goes hand in hand with what is the audience we're trying to target for this campaign. What kind of content can we use, and where can we be creative and maybe try something we haven't tried before? The timing, what time of year is most relevant for this topic. We're not going to be talking about wildfire season in December, right? No one cares in December, and we're not going to be talking about frozen pipes in July. It's, not relevant. And then the contractor needs and the relevant deadlines, things we do like local advertising, we need to keep, when that stuff is due in mind, how long of a lead time we need for the various contractors that we need, or vendors that we use to kind of help us fulfill some of those content needs. So for a quick example, for a campaign like wildfire season, some of the topics that might fit under that are our wildfire mitigation plan, vegetation removal, one-shot, and PSOM. So we obviously already talked about the timing would be summer, wildfire season, pretty self-explanatory. The audience, and what you'll see is that just because everything falls under the same campaign doesn't mean that it all has the same audience. So for something like PSOM, that's going to be one of our biggest undertakings, right? Because that audience is not just our community, but our local businesses, the local agencies we work with in partnership to get that message out on our behalf. It's even just people who are visiting here, right? We need a lot of our local and regional community to know what that is. What is a PSOM? And that's going to dictate the channels that we use. We're going to be kind of all over the place. It's going to have a dedicated web page. We're going to be doing a press release. We're going to be running advertisements. Steven and I are going to be trying to do interviews about it to really push that message hard. Something like vegetation removal, that's a much more targeted audience. Someone who comes up here on the weekends, stays at a hotel, doesn't need to know about our vegetation removal, right? That's our customers, who are living that they have a contractor on their block taking trees down. Why are they taking the trees down? And the same thing, the channels, it's not going to be as widespread of a message. It's going to be way more targeted. It's going to be customer emails. It's, we're working on updating right now the door hangers and the flyers that people get when that's happening on their block. And we're talking about trying to increase our social media messaging around vegetation removal, where when we know that this month these blocks are going to be undergoing tree removal, we're going to be messaging that so that it lives in a couple different places, but you can see it's a much more targeted effort. So now, yeah.
While we switch into the next phase, do we want to take a short recess for Director Aliotis?
So we don't stop right in the middle?
Yeah, if you want, I won't probably be able to come back till about 8 or 10 minutes after 7, so.
It's up to the board.
I mean, I'm happy for you guys to keep going, it's fine. So far, it's been very informative and very well put together.
Okay.
So.
Should we just go on?
Yeah, I think I'd appreciate maybe just keep going.
Okay.
And if you don't mind, I'm just going to step out and sneak back in when I'm done.
We'll be happy to follow up with any questions when you return.
I'll take as much in as I can.
Cool, good
No,
plan.
absolutely.
Carry on, thank you.
Yeah. So once we established our themes, established our campaigns, now we need to plan out what that looks like, how we're going to execute that. So some of the tools that I use, going from different levels, starting first, very high level bird's eye view, is an editorial calendar. So this is kind of, the next couple slides are really just an insight into my world. This is very internal. It's really just a planning document, organizational tool for me and for Stephen that helps us keep track of, our upcoming campaigns and priorities. And just for a little background, this steals from the publishing world. So I know magazines really aren't a thing anymore, but that's where I got my start in media. And when you're working on magazines in, August, you're planning stuff for Christmas, for the, December issue. So same kind of idea is that we want to make sure we have a little bit of a roadmap for our year so that we don't get to, the first week of March and, start being like, oh my gosh, we forgot about this thing that's actually going to take a couple weeks of planning. So it doesn't really need the granular details. It's really just keeping track of the kind of topics, some deadlines, important dates, stuff like National Engineers Week is coming up in February when we have lineman appreciation and water worker appreciation. Those would be some important dates we want on there. This is kind of the high-level organizational tool. And then from there, more day-to-day, I utilize a content calendar. So this is just, we manage a lot of different channels, as you saw that list, both external and internal, and it can be challenging to keep track of what is being published where and when. Aside from that, we're also keeping track of, sometimes we work collaboratively with the town of Truckee, with Truckee Fire on certain messaging, and we want to make sure we're all communicating at the same time. And then there's also things like there's certain days when we have more customer service reps on duty that day than others. So I want to think about, I don't want to just fire off a really important customer email the day before, like on a Thursday when we know that Friday is a lighter day on the customer service side. So just keeping track of all of that, this is a great way just to organize it all on a more granular level. And this provides a place to incorporate our standalone content that doesn't fit into a specific campaign. Like we talked about, those campaigns are great, and that's our more planned out communications, but there's still a need and a desire to have more one-off, kind of standalone things. And it's a great way to just kind of plug those into the month. And then we want to be keeping track of how effective our communications are, right? So we do that through coverage tracking, reporting, and some key performance indicators. So tracking and reporting, we want to be covering all of our relevant channels, choose some metrics that we think can help us not only tell us whether or not we're being successful and effective, but also analyze, do we need to make a change to what we're doing? And that's what these metrics will help us do. We're going to be doing this on a monthly basis and reporting it out to relevant groups. And then the current KPIs, we are looking to use some of our social media statistics, increase in followers, what kind of engagement we're getting, the number of participants in our programs, are people signing up for rebates, are people signing up for our outage management system. Media placement, so if we're putting press releases out, are those getting picked up by the local media? And then web traffic, how are people getting to our website and where are they going once they get there? All things that can help us determine whether our communications are effective. And here's a couple of the screenshots of our social media metrics for the month of January. So new for 2023, there's a couple of new things we want to try to incorporate that either haven't been done at the district before or maybe need a little bit of a refresh. So as far as content goes, we've talked about doing a blog on our website. A lot of times when we're putting out information on our social media channels, in press releases, we always want to be driving them back to our website. So we need somewhere to link them to, right? And there's a lot of stuff that we talk about. There's a relevant web page, but sometimes there isn't. And this is a great educational tool. We can have our own editorial living on our website. Kind of replicates what you would see maybe in a Sierra Sun or in a Moonshine Ink, but format it the way we want it, have it live on our website, and then we can just keep driving people back. Like we said, that repetitive, not redundant. All the information can live on the website. We can't put all of that in a social media post. So what can be in a blog can be 4 different social media posts with a little bit of copy, bring them back to the website. A customer newsletter, right now we utilize customer emails mostly just for specific programs, initiatives, kind of big announcements. But something like maybe a quarterly newsletter where we're recapping what's happening or giving, a heads up on things to come might be beneficial to our customers. Media kit, that's a little bit wonky for the media industry. It's really just a quick snapshot of who we are, our mission, our values, our little boilerplate that goes at the bottom of our press releases, and a few select photo and video assets. You usually put that together for your company, and it's a quick grab for people who want to know more about you, especially journalists and things like that. And digital signage, the TVs around or the screens around the district are up and running, or are going to be up and running again. So that's another avenue we have to, share information with people who are physically in the building. A couple of new organizational tools. So an asset library and a talking points library. These are strictly internal tools, but basically locations where the asset library would be a photo, video, content library. So a lot of times, people ask me, oh, do you have a picture for something? And it maybe takes me a little bit of time to find where it is right now, or it doesn't exist yet, or I got to go track it down because it's on somebody's phone or on somebody's desktop. So being able to have everything in an easy to navigate system where anybody in the company who has communications needs can get into it. And then a talking points library, that's really just everybody who works here is an ambassador for this district and really should have all the information they need to talk about the things that are going on here. So when we have big projects, taking, the things that you would kind of put as an FAQ on a website and putting that into some talking points that everyone could read through really easily, so they can answer questions even if they're just out in the community and don't have an official capacity here. We're all faces of this organization. Building a media center on the website. That's somewhere where, our press releases, right now we have a list of press releases, but it's a little clunky to get to. Somewhere where we could have that media kit I talked about, maybe our blog could live there, our press release could live there, really a landing page for what we're going to be, for our communications. And then a website audit and reorganization. So a lot of different things we could do with the website. To start, we really want to just audit everything, take a look at, is all of our information up to date? Are there broken links? Are there documents that are out of date? Taking a good look and making sure everything's up to date. And then potentially reorganizing some things, making sure that, our navigation makes sense for, like we keep saying, we keep bringing it back to the customer. What do they need? Where do they need to get to? And make sure that information is very clear and easy to get to for them on the homepage. And then internally, creating some standard operating procedures for ops, outage communications, and crisis communications, updating the social media guidelines that we have here, and then some brand guidelines. And that really just means creating some consistency for the look of the PUD in written format, so logos, fonts, colors, things like that. And I'm going to turn it back to Stephen now.
Thank you, Alex.
So as you can see, there has been a extensive amount of work done there. This is the easy part, and then we're really looking forward to for discussions and questions and feedback on, this extensive amount of work done, the kind of change of point of view, which I think is really great for the district going forward, and then how you feel about what we think are the key themes, campaigns, and executions to get those words out. For fiscal impact, the cost for the district's public information and strategic affairs department are included in the approved FY23 budget. There are no direct costs associated with this workshop item, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Alex. Any public comment?
No, Mr. President.
All right. Seeing none, we'll fire up the board discussion. Kim, any initial thoughts?
Yes, I appreciate the plan, the communications, the presentation, and everything. My favorite page out of your whole board package item was this one. So it just kind of sums it up, and I thought it was very easy to, look at and kind of check and say, oh, well, I was thinking about wildfire season, and like, oh, look, it's there. So it's just kind of a quick and easy way to reference it. The other thing that as I am looking at this, the public information, going online, it's actually nice to see that the Laserfish program is being used now too. I see that in December, it looks like is when everything got onto the website, and I appreciate that. So it makes it more transparent, which is very good. So having the information out there to direct people to the website for this information, I think is great. So it sounds like you guys are on a trajectory, and I appreciate everything that you've done. So thanks.
Great. Krista, yeah, you're closer to the mic.
Happy to pipe up. I really appreciated and enjoyed this presentation. We've been talking for years, the communications, like when I was very first elected and we were talking about the values of our district, and communication was one that got added because it is so important and it is also so hard to do effectively. Just one-on-one, it's hard to do, but it multiplies in difficulty when you are reaching out to various communities and you're using, like you said, what we do seems simple, but it's very complex, and lots of the language used is very complex. And we really do have to make a lot of effort to dial that back, take a deep breath, and meet people, like you said, where they're at. And this is very exciting. It's really exciting. I really loved the list of the themes. And when you read that out loud, it's like, doesn't make you sit up straight and really like, we are the PUD. We're thinking about the future. We're planning for the future. We're hardening our infrastructure. This is what we do. And we're proud of it. And we need the community to be full partners with us in accomplishing these things. And that's what you guys are doing, right? You're trying to enlist our community in our mission. And that's I'm really proud and happy to see this happening. Like all this great policy, all these great things that you guys do day to day in the operations end, it's less effective when we don't have good communication to share that. It's just, because we can be undermined when people, this has been happening a lot in, say, the past 6 years, where people will grab onto something that's not true. And we'll circulate that. And if we don't have a good basis of truth that this whole community can rely on, it's a lot harder to respond to those accusations. And so this is just another really important piece of how we, as a community, as a state, as a country, are going to be moving forward. So I just really appreciate all the work you did. I appreciate this presentation and breaking it down for us on the board, and how can we help? What can we do to be better communicators and to help you with this messaging? We could be useful, maybe, but we need to be on the same page, right? And so all of that is very exciting. And I'm going to stop there for the moment. Repetition is good, but maybe not that good. So shut up.
Nice. Thanks, Krista. Joe,
What?
any thoughts on
There's a lot of work put into that.
the PID plan?
And now we're gonna use this outline as a, go back and fill in the blanks.
Yep, a lot of work behind executing,
Looks like it's gonna be.
but
a lot
it'll
of
help
work.
organize us and make us as efficient and effective as we can be.
Okay. Well, I'll have to digest this. a bit
Okay.
more, Okay?
All right, thanks, Joe. Tony, you missed a little bit, but,
I'm fine.
all right, you
No,
have any thoughts?
No, thank you, and I don't think I missed too much, but what you guys presented, you guys knocked it out of the park, so thank you. And just kind of, if you guys can communicate like as effectively as you just did in that presentation with the public, we're good.
Yeah, do it.
No, I mean, it was very thoughtful, very pointed, you hit so many salient points. It was very refreshing to see. And it kind of takes me back to a while, maybe a couple years ago, where the common theme, I think, for a while there was managing expectations. The one way to manage expectations is to educate. And I think this plan really puts a huge emphasis, and I think, Alex, you brought that up, is we have to educate the customers, tell them why it's important. I think that's that goes a long ways to your point about, just getting negative feedback and hearing things, why did you do this, why did you do that? And the root of that problem is not being educated. And so I really think that you guys have put the right emphasis on that part of this plan. And I think it'll go a long way, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, PID is not proportional integral derivative, right? So, and we can't start there, right? We gotta start from the different perspective and not dive into our acronyms. And so I just feel the same way as the rest of the board members. Great presentation, super informative. It's incredible to just have this plan now with your department, and because we have them with the other departments, and now this is a huge lift, and really excited to see it implemented. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Had all this good high-level stuff just to bring it way down to something more minute. Do we have anything in like the hotels and the Airbnbs and that talks about PSOM? Because reaching the visitors, over the years with the wine shop, we've had many people approach us and say, hey, can we put your information in our hotel rooms, or can we put our information in our rental units? And of course, we always say, yes, please take all my information. But that might be a way to help reach the people that come, their transit. But if we have a PSOM in the middle of August, they're going to sure as heck be
Sure.
affected. Little tactic.
Indirectly, the answer is yes, but we could perhaps do more. And so it's another channel to consider through the public safety partner group that we manage. We do have the chamber as part of that group, and we have Visit Truckee Tahoe as part of that group, and we have the downtown merchants as part of that group, because the businesses are impacted by PSOM. So we've done it more through proxy than we've done it directly, but it is a good opportunity.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, and cool presentation, by the way, just the effects in it, and
Very
just,
good.
I'll give credit to my better half
Oh,
for
okay,
that
all right,
one.
just the interactive way, yeah, I like that.
The
so.
district had a moratorium on, action or moving parts of a presentation for many years, and we're letting it go in little bits here, and Alex has done a great job.
So, thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
Any other last thoughts? All good. All right, excellent. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Stephen.
Great.
All right. Okay, we've got some routine business. We have the treasurer's report as of February 1st, 2023, including the fund balances for the month of November 30th last year and disbursements for December 31st, 2022, and some government code sections. So we got some bills in there, fund balances, Joe. How are we looking? Are we?
Mr. President,
Hey,
there is no public
Shall we
comment.
get to that part?
thank you, Shauna. And there is no public comment. Is it no other public comment? All right, we're good. No public comment. Is there a motion or comments from the board?
Are we ready to pay the bills?
Yes.
Well, I pay the bills if I want.
Okay.
I make the motion to do it.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll second
They are
that.
paid.
Yeah, they're already paid. We have a motion and a second for action, or routine business number 14. Can we get roll call?
Thank you. Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Finn?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Vice President Liliotis?
Yes.
President Bender?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, that is the end of the regular open session of the meeting, and we have coming up next a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, General Manager's Performance Plan Review. We'll take a short break and then go into the back. All right, thank you, everyone.
Yeah.